Hey guys, welcome back to BlackMagicCraft. When I first started playing D&D, I did what I think most people do. I instantly obsessed over my first character creation, and being a grown-up former goth, I did exactly what you'd expect. I rolled up a tiefling warlock. Of course I did. Super duper cliche. What was his, hold on. There we go. Urus the Deceiver, a tiefling warlock. I think immediately after my first session that I played, I decided I wanted to get a cool miniature for this character. So I set out looking for something, and I had a really hard time finding anything that was appropriate. I don't know if it was the lower amount of availability on the market at the time or simply my inexperience in the hobby and knowing where to look, but I couldn't find anything. What I did come across, however, was a site where you can design and get custom printed on demand your own miniatures. So I designed Urus on that website, but I was reluctant to order him because I was really new to the hobby. I had only played like 1 or 2 games, and I didn't know if I wanted to invest in a custom mini for something that I might not like next week. I delayed my purchase. A few more sessions, maybe second or third, and Urus died. Well, actually, I don't know if Urus died or another party member died. That memory's a bit foggy, but somebody died and the circumstances were not great, and it caused my first big table play group fight. And it basically resulted in that campaign coming to a close, but not playing D&D. We were all hooked. Fast forward a few years later, Hero Forge reaches out to me and asks me to do a video about their mini printing services. And I thought, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity to give Urus the Deceiver another shot at life. The first thing I did was jump on the computer to start designing a model. Turned out, when I logged in, my original design from several years ago was still there, but I decided it would be a lot more fun to make an updated version. I figured the interface and options had come a long way in the last 4 to 5 years since I first tried it. The interface is really easy to use and certainly doesn't require any special computer or design skills. I'm pretty sure basically anyone can create a cool character in it. Thankfully, it's open for anyone to play with and try out, so you can just jump on and try it out if you want. There's no need to actually purchase anything. You can just play around with it. There's a ton of options, and almost every aspect of the model is customizable. While you can quickly come up with something, I did spend almost half an hour just messing around and testing out all the various options because there was so much to play with, and I kind of wanted to see it all. I did find myself wanting certain things that weren't there, or slight variations of things, but I think this is to be expected. You can't realistically expect them to have every possible option programmed in and available, but they're pretty close to having all the bases covered. Overall, the system works really well, and adding and taking things off was easy. I didn't experience any glitches with the interface at all, but there were a few times when certain options clashed with each other in a bit of a funny way, causing parts of the model to kind of like peek through things like clothing or facial hair. That didn't happen very much, and it was really easy to remedy just by adjusting things like size or position. One of the coolest parts of the system is that there's an incredible amount of control over the figure's pose. There are a bunch of great presets, but you can then refine those to your liking. It's really neat seeing all of the options you've chosen, like clothing and weapons and stuff, change to fit the pose of the model as you try different ones. When you design these, there is an option to add a base, and they have several to choose from. You can also order them without a base and just on a slot so that you can base them in your own way. And personally, this is what I would have chosen because I like using the same bases across different lines of models, but I thought for this demonstration it would be best to utilize and take a look at one of the integrated bases. If you choose a base, you also have the ability to add more items to it for a bit of extra flair. I added a little rat because Urus, the character I'd rolled up years ago, actually did have a pet rat companion, so this was totally perfect. Once your design is complete, you can save it for later or order it. There's a few options for materials. You can simply pay for an STL file to download and print it yourself, or you can choose from one of the 4 print-on-demand options. They have 2 plastic versions, a basic and a premium, both of which come primed and ready to paint, as well as 2 metal versions, the steel one and the bronze. These vary in price point from $20 USD to $100 USD, and I wanted to be able to compare the different versions with the same model, so I ordered the plastic, premium plastic, and steel. I did not end up ordering one of the bronze ones as they were the most expensive, and I really didn't think this would be the option the average gamer or viewer would be after, and I think they're totally overkill for tabletop gaming. But if you want the premium deluxe option, it is there. The shipping prices are set by country and seem to be flat rate, and the shipping times depend on your location and the materials you choose. Because I'm in Canada, and because I chose a steel option on my order, it took a little bit longer than, say, just ordering a basic plastic model shipped to the USA would. But even though I ordered during the holiday season, the model shipped almost a full week before the estimated ship date that I was given on my order, and arrived in about 2 weeks, which I thought was really impressive for print on demand to another country during December. Once they arrived, I opened them up to compare. When comparing the basic and premium plastic, something sort of funny happened. In my head, I reversed them. I thought the black was the basic and the gray the premium. It had been like 2 weeks since I made the order, and I kind of mixed up the colors in my head. The interesting thing is that when comparing them, I saw very minimal difference in quality, so this mix-up wasn't instantly obvious. The basic, true basic, the gray one, was more rigid than the premium. I think this would make it a little bit more brittle, but honestly, both held up just fine to several drop tests, so I'd consider both more than durable enough for tabletop gaming. Both came primed, but with different colors, and I actually prefer the basic gray primer more than the premium black one because it's more of a flat primer and I find that easier to paint. The black premium plastic version was printed at a much higher resolution according to their website, and based on the support scars on the bottom, the two were likely printed at different orientations and maybe on even different machines. To be honest though, I couldn't see much of a difference in detail or layer line amount between the two. In fact, it was the premium plastic one that had some support scars left on the model that I needed to clean up. Wasn't a big deal, but it was interesting considering the cleanup job on the basic plastic was perfect. This process is almost certainly done manually in their production though, so I would expect variation from model to model in terms of support cleanup quality. Either way, if there are some little dots left from supports, it's a very easy and simple thing to clean up, and it's actually way less work than, say, mold line cleanup or gap filling on a model you might buy from a store. As for the steel model, I'm not sure how to feel. It's steel printed, which is infused with a bronze composition. It's pretty crazy printing technology that I don't fully understand, but it's pretty neat. This results in a very durable model, but at the cost of detail. The entire thing is heavily textured, which would make it by far the worst option of the three for painting. Now, the bronze one that I didn't order does not suffer from this texture problem, and they appear to be perfectly smooth and really quite beautiful. For gaming purposes, I'm not sure the added cost and durability of the steel model makes sense over the cheaper, more detailed plastic options. This would make for a great gift though, or display piece to honor a favorite character from a past game. Maybe a beloved character in your group suffers a heroic death and you guys want to make a nice memorial gift for the player. This would be a pretty cool thing to give them. I did find it a bit difficult to compare the two plastics that were primed in different colors, so I decided to respray the black one gray so I could take a closer look. During this process, I noticed that there were even more support zits that needed to be cleaned up on the base that I had missed earlier. Comparing the two, while they were of a similar color, didn't really show any more obvious or big differences in detail or print quality. There were minimal differences, but I can't say that one was better or worse. The biggest difference is definitely the flexibility of the resin used. I actually like the stiffer plastic of the basic model better, but the flexibility of the other one would certainly make it more durable long term, being thrown in something like a bag or dropped on the floor a lot of times. Of course, I had to see how one of these looked painted up, and I opted to paint the basic plastic one, as in theory, it should be the least forgiving, and I wanted to show you guys what the cheapest option looked like. As usual, I need to say it, I'm not the best mini painter. I paint to an adequate tabletop quality, which I actually think is on par with what a lot of my viewers strive for. I don't use super fancy brushes, just disposable synthetic ones with haggard and bent tips, and I fight with my essential tremor in my hands every step of the way. But I get through it. I paint my miniatures with a very rudimentary and uncomplicated system. It starts by blocking out all the main colors. When doing things like detail lines, my shaky hands and bad brushes simply can't handle it. So I found a great workaround when dealing with metallics: gel pens. I found that they are far easier for me to control and use to make straight, small lines. Surely a skilled painter with steady hands will be better with a brush. But this helps me personally get the job done, and hopefully this tip helps some of you. Stage 2 of my simple paint jobs is using small amounts of washes to create some simple shadows and blend the areas where different colors meet. The trick here is to not put on too much and take the time to remove any excess that might pool up in low areas using a damp brush. After the wash, the third stage is coming back in and adding some highlights. For most colors, I will do this in 2 stages. First, I'll use the same color I used for the base coats to hit some of the highest edges. Then I will do the same thing again, but more minimally, with the same color mixed with a bit of white or light gray. I rarely get into attempting complicated wet blending or anything like that. Usually, I wait for the figure to be fully painted before decorating the base, or in this case, painting it. I did have to pull out one cheeky trick, albeit a pretty lazy one that looks far better than it deserves based on effort. To create some object source lighting from the magic flame in his hand, I used an airbrush to apply some very diluted neon green ink to the model from the direction that the light would come. This is as easy as it gets for a fast bit of extra flair. The last stage is always to clean up the base rim with a clean coat of fresh, flat black paint before sealing the model with matte varnish. So what is my final thought about Hero Forge minis? I think the idea of custom print-on-demand miniatures with tons of options is obviously super cool, and I love that this service exists. I think both levels of plastic quality are really good, and I gotta say, the basic plastic at the lower price point gives the rest a run for their money. It's more than maybe worth spending for a single plastic mini in some cases, but at the same time, there are so many more expensive minis out there on the market that aren't custom. This certainly isn't a great outlet for a DM to build a huge library of hundreds of minis, but I think it's a pretty fantastic way for players to get their hands on the perfect mini to represent a character that they love playing. These make for excellent gifts and serve as a great way to memorialize favorite characters. Really, it depends on whether or not this service suits your needs. Do you need a custom mini? If you do, I think Hero Forge is a perfect option, and I'm really glad that Urus finally got another shot at life. So what do you guys think? I'm sure a lot of you out there have already used Hero Forge, so if you have, I encourage you to go in the comment section and let others know about your experience. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, let me know. Even if you're not interested in the service, I hope that maybe you gained some knowledge about miniature painting from somebody who actually really struggles with it. And on that struggle, I want to take a moment to talk about shaky hands. I kind of actually downplay how bad my shakes really are. It's a big struggle. Painting minis is so hard. I've tried everything. A lot of people recommend things like putting elbows on the table, putting their hands together and painting this way. I find that this is not enough for me sometimes when my shakes are really bad. This is my tip to you if you also struggle. I have found that the best way for me to paint minis with the shakes is to actually lean back in my chair, put my hands on my chest and hold the mini and paint it like this. It's kind of an awkward position to paint, and it's certainly an awkward one to film, which is why I avoid it a fair bit, but it does help, so maybe it will help you. If you want to pick up any tools or supplies to set yourself off on your own hobby journey, miniature paint, airbrush, for example, you can check out blackmagiccraft.ca. There I have my essential equipment page where I explain and list and link to all of the things that I use regularly for my own hobby needs. Also, if you really enjoy this channel and the videos I make and you want to help me keep making them by supporting the channel, and maybe you just want to join a group of really cool, like-minded individuals in the Blackmagic Craft Fellowship, you can do so by supporting the channel on Patreon. It's a great way to help me keep doing what I'm doing and invest my time into making these videos. Really appreciate those of you who have helped along the way. That's it for this one, guys. It's time to put Urus back on the shelf, his character sheet in the box, and his mini can now live on to fulfill his destiny. He'll probably end up being a bad guy in the game. Ah.